The city loomed before her, its high, jagged walls like toothed teeth rising from the desert sands. Darinka had walked this path many times before, her head bowed to avoid the stares and jeers of the city's inhabitants. This time, however, her step was firm, her shoulders squared, and her heart filled with silent fury. Behind her, the desert beasts moved silently, their powerful forms following her every step. Though hidden from view, their presence was a palpable weight pressing against the dry air. Darinka did not turn around to see if they were following her. She knew they would. Her power had bound them to her will, and her loyalty was absolute. As she approached the gates, the guards recognized her instantly. They exchanged knowing smiles, their contempt evident even from a distance. One of them, a gray-haired man with a scar running down his cheek, stepped forward.
Well, if you're not the scorned princess, what brings you back, your grace? Are you here to trade your leftover desert fruit for real food?
The other guards laughed, and Darinka felt the familiar pain of humiliation. But today, she let their words pass over her like the desert wind.
Open the doors.
The guard's smile faltered for a moment at her tone, but quickly recovered.
As you wish, your highness.
Inside the city, the streets were just as she remembered them, crowded, noisy, and smelling of sweat and desperation. Merchants hawked their wares, children ran between legs, and nobles lounged on shaded terraces, their finery contrasting with the drab surroundings. It didn't take long for the crowd to notice her presence. Murmurs spread like wildfire, and soon mocking laughter followed her like a shadow.
She's back.
She still clings to her noble ends. She should be grateful that we let her in.
Darinka ignored them and continued walking steadily towards the central square. When she arrived, a hostile crowd had gathered, their faces a mixture of curiosity, contempt, and amusement. She turned to face them, her voice cutting through the noise like a sword.
I offer the opportunity for you to respect the laws of the goddesses of Amaverse. Acknowledge them, and you will find favor. Defy them, and you will face the consequences.
The crowd burst into laughter.
Listen to her. The scorned princess now believes herself to be a prophetess.
Get out of our city and take your goddesses with you.
Before Darinka could respond, a squad of soldiers pushed through the crowd. At their head was a man in polished armor bearing the crest of the central nobility. He unsheathed his sword with a graceful gesture and pointed it at Darinka.
Darinka Valnar, by order of Justin and the noble coalition, you are hereby declared a traitor. Your sentence is death.
The crowd fell silent, their mocking expressions replaced by laughter and applause.
Where are my mother and my brother?
They're heading to the capital. Your mother resisted, so we taught her what happens to traitors who forget their place. As for you...
This is my territory, and on my territory, no one can hurt me.
A blinding light erupted from her body and spread outward in a wave that swept through the city. The ground beneath her feet shimmered and the air vibrated with her magic. The guards rushed at her, but when they entered her domain, they fell to the ground, unconscious. The desert beasts stormed into the city, their roars and growls echoing off the walls. The crowd scattered in terror as the beasts pursued them, sparing no one who had mocked or harmed her. The nobles, stripped of their power, fled into the desert, their cries for mercy drowned out by the wind and the relentless sun. Darinka did not see them leave. Her thoughts were elsewhere, on her mother and brother, on the caravan that was taking them to their doom. She summoned her beasts and sent them out into the desert with orders to intercept the caravan. They returned hours later, dragging the remains of the guards and the cage that had held her family. Inside, Darinka found her mother's lifeless body, bruised and mangled. Her brother, barely conscious, reached out to her with shaking hands. Darinka fell to her knees, her tears soaking the sand. She buried her mother beneath the trees of the oasis, the first tomb of her growing kingdom.
In this world, the only law is the strongest. So be it.
From that day on, Darinka's territory expanded relentlessly, consuming the border towns one by one. People began to call her the proud queen of the borderlands, a name that was whispered in fear and reverence. But Darinka cared little for titles. Her heart burned with one purpose: to protect her brother, uphold divine law, and bring justice to those who had destroyed her family. The tragedy with her mother has made Darinka callous and hard. Join us in the next chapter, where the conflict with the nobles begins.
She rose from ashes cold and grey. Her heart once scattered lost her way. From broken vows and endless tears, she forged a path to quell her fears. Injustice marred her every